This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2 underway. We will move past my procedure on Friday since nobody wants to discuss that. Get to Justin Hokanson of the Auburn beat here in just a moment. Some news coming out over the weekend of just how some individuals looked. Before we get to Hoke, don't forget, you can listen online, jocksfm.com. The app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Just download that. Download it for free. That'll direct you to YouTube where you can watch us live every day. Search Jocks 945. Also has the podcast house there, and you can just tune in and listen on the app. Or when you wake up, get moving around, tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. Always do an amazing job. I'm a repeat customer, just like 75% of their business. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Highly recommend you take the short drive up to Coleman. You go see what they have on the lot. It's off the charts good. Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager go above and beyond to make sure that their customers are satisfied. That's why GMC has given them Dealer of the Year the last 5 years. They've won the national championship of GMC dealers 8 times overall. It's a dynasty, and it's lucky for us they're so dang close. Short drive, I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can go get a GMC Sierra SLT, $14,000 off the sticker price. Gets you out for around $53,000, which is ridiculous. You're not getting that deal anywhere else. You can also go and get an Encore GX. It's a Buick. Sporty economical SUV for $5,000 off. You can get it under $25,000. Deals like that keep people coming back. That's why you should buy your next vehicle from the GMC Dealer of the Year at Bill Smith Buick GMC. You can also have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline now. Welcome in Justin Hokanson from the On3 Sports Network. Covers the Auburn beat. Before we go into practice over the weekend and fall camp, just recruiting feels like it's kind of ramping up a little bit for this Auburn program and Hugh Freeze. People have been really down on it for a while. Justin, just kind of give us an update where that is.
Yeah, it's ramping up a little bit. I mean, you get Jace Matthews, who's one of the best receivers in the country recently, and then you got Braylon Womack, who is the number 1 safety in the country, announcing Thursday, and it looks like Auburn's in great position to land him. So you kind of had a few months there where it was rough, where not only were you not getting commits, but you lost a few, and then now things have sort of settled in, and you're able to secure 2 of the better players in the country. They're making inroads with a couple of other players on both sides of the ball that are committed elsewhere. So, yeah, I think it's transitioning a little bit. I think, looking back, that period where they struggled was just kind of that period with a lot of unknown, and, not to rehash all that, but they sort of were taking a back seat a little bit, and it showed. And then now things, they could try to ramp it back up a little bit. Still got a ways to go. I mean, if they were to land Braylon Womack, probably might bump them inside the top 30 at that point. But the thing to keep in mind about this class, and I put it out on Twitter, like they might be 30th or so, let's say, if they do land Braylon Womack Thursday. But of the top 40 teams, they'd have one of, if not the fewest commits of any of them. And their blue chip ratio is going to be top 15 if they land Womack. So, partly if they're around 30, part of that's just going to be the sheer number of commits. So if they can keep the quality, if they can keep kind of the ratio as they grow the class, they will no doubt jump back into the top 15 or higher when this thing's all said and done. So they've just got to kind of build the class back to the way they're going. But yeah, it's ramping back up a little bit. Now it's to that point where wins are going to matter. You got to do it on the field and back it up.
What do you think is the biggest point of contention for Auburn going into the season? We've documented every aspect of their team. I think we feel fairly confident that they're going to be improved in just about every area. But what's the one area where you think they might not be as good as they were a year ago?
Ooh, might not be as good. That's a tough one. I mean, linebacker is a little iffy. I mean, just because you got a lot of unproven guys there, there's some ability, man. We've heard a lot of good things about the athletic ability of Xavier Atkins, who they brought in, and some freshmen like Bryce Dees and Elijah Melendez. But there's still a lot of unprovenness with that position. And so, Dorian Mosey was the leading tackler last year, for Auburn when he transferred from Duke. He wasn't some phenomenal player, but he's pretty good. I mean, he's a pretty good player. He's competing for a roster spot, I think, with the Vikings, but he had played a lot of college football. So linebacker is probably the one where I would look at and go, it's not necessarily going to be worse, but they just got to prove it. I got to see those guys sort of do it, but there's a lot of potential. Outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to be better at corner. I think they're going to be, as good at the safety position. They should be better at the line, better at receiver. Running back probably takes a step back. You can't put, Jarquez Hunter is a really good back, so you don't have a stud. But if you can do it collectively, then that might not take a step back. But for now, you could say you don't have a stud, so maybe a step back there. So maybe linebacker and running back are the only two positions that I could point to and go, they might be worse, only because there's some unproven guys there, but they're not necessarily going to be worse.
How do you look at the running back usage going into this season? Because we often have discussed that Jarquez was not used the way that we thought he could have been last year. And even if running back talent, ability is not a strength, I mean, is there any more idea that it's going to be utilized to a different extent than it was a season ago?
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see how that plays out, because nothing we've seen or heard during fall camp has pointed to any one of those guys breaking out and being the guy that gets, 75% of the carries. But it could happen. I mean, Damari Olson's been there a while. He could certainly just become this super reliable guy that gets the majority of the carries. But Jeremiah Cobb, Hugh Freeze has said he's going to have a breakout year. So, okay, what does that look like? And then you bring in Darrell Robinson from UConn for a reason. He's a big physical back that I really like. I'm really curious to see what he looks like in the SEC because he looks the part. So I don't know. It's hard for me to see one guy of that group breaking out and being the stud. I really think it could happen. I mean, you could get into the season and it could just sort of work its way out where you just really start trusting the guy and he's in a rhythm and he becomes the man. But I really think it's going to be a collective effort, whether it's Darrell Robinson's a bigger guy. He could be a great short down back or a great goal line back, or Jeremiah Cobb, obviously with his speed, could be used in different ways. So it feels like it's going to be a collective effort depending on the play or the down or the situation, or if somebody gets hot, just keep him in the game at that point. So I think we were talking about this on the show the other day, and it kind of reminds me of the 2001 season. Now Carnell was a freshman that year, and you don't have this All-American freshman, but that year you had Ksenius Moore had like 600-ish yards. Carnell had like 500-something yards. Ronnie had like 400. That's what it sort of feels like it could be with this group, where collectively can they get to 1,500 yards with some kind of split like that. I'm not sure one guy on this roster is going to get to 900 yards. I don't know. It could happen, but I see it more like that 2001 season where you have 657, maybe somebody's at 500, maybe somebody's at 350, something like that.
What have you heard so far about?
Really quickly though, the Ksenius Moore reference was not the one that I thought we were going to get on the show today. Like that,
don't even know who that is, but I
don't know if anybody else is getting that all year.
Yeah, I respect the name drop for sure.
He's good.
I'm sure he was. I honestly don't remember him, but
a minute.
I love it. What have you heard on Jackson Arnold's comfort level, where he's at, and the progress that he's made in fall camp?
I'll tell you one thing that I've heard now through a couple of scrimmages, even through Friday, that I think is, certainly noteworthy. If you think back to how last year went, is I continue to hear that there have been very few turnovers when it comes to Jackson Arnold, and obviously that's when you look back at last year and turnovers literally cost them, how many wins. So that's one of the things I think is getting lost a little bit. Even though the defense has won more times than not during these scrimmages and practices, I still continue to hear that he's protecting the football. There's not interceptions being thrown. There's not fumbles and things like that. And so even through some of the, even though the offense has had their moments, but the defense has won some of these scrimmages, I like to hear that they're protecting the football. I talked to somebody on Saturday that said, very few times that offense is putting the ball in harm's way. So, I mean, that's a really good sign, obviously. If that can continue, if he's making, and you go back to Freeze and Durkin and then talking about good decision-making, let's hope that translates, because that would be a really good sign and a good a good starting point. I think the other element with him is I think he's learning the offense fine. The RPO game I think is going to be really good. They still got to pass protect a little bit better. That didn't go well on Friday. That was the one caveat there is the O-line did not pass protect very well. But the other part of Jackson Arnold's game that's being overlooked right now is his ability to run, because it's just non-existent in fall camp. You're not going to let him get hit, and you're going to blow the whistle early. And so when they scrimmage and go through this stuff, his ability to run is just not a factor. And that's, that's going to be a part of this offense. And so I'm really intrigued once the season starts to see that part of the game and that part of the offense. Designed runs with him in addition to scrambles and runs. I think that's a part of his game that we're maybe not talking about enough in terms of how this offense is going to move the football. His ability to run, I think, is going to add a big-time element and really help these guys move the football. So I think he's doing well, but I like no turnovers, and I'm still keeping an eye on his ability to run, and we don't hear a lot about that. But I think that'll show up on Saturdays.
Yeah, it's one, too. I think we've mentioned it here. He can be a dynamic runner. I mean, big runs, 50, 60-yard runs that can break a defense down, that forces defense to play you a different way. My understanding, Justin, is that he has been letting go of the football, and this has been my biggest concern the entire offseason. That confidence has got to get back. And then the second part to that is that he has been seeing more from the defense recently. And we all had some fun with that after media days. I know you followed up with Coach Freeze about that a couple times. But are you in line with hearing those two things, that his confidence of letting go of the ball is coming around, and what he's actually having to face defensively has gotten a lot more complicated the last week and a half?
Yeah, no question. I mean, we've definitely heard. I mean, I think we talked to, I think Freeze, Durkin, and Ken Austin have all said, he's getting rid of the football and he's making pretty quick decisions. Of course, we saw that moment last week when Freeze lost his mind when he didn't get rid of the ball. But I think that's indicative of maybe how he has been playing. And it was kind of inexplicable in that one moment that he didn't. But I've heard that as well, and I'm glad you brought up the point about facing the defense. We had a lot of fun with that a few weeks ago. Freeze talked about in the spring dialing the defense back, and everybody lost their mind and everybody kind of made fun of it. I think that really went towards he was just really focused on trying to build Jackson Arnold's confidence back up. But everything I've heard over the last week or so, 2 weeks, is the defense is throwing a lot at him. I mean, I talked to somebody on Saturday morning after Friday's scrimmage, and that was one of the main points they made was at this point, there's not a lot being held back. That defense is calling a lot of stuff, and it makes it hard on the defense in fall camp. I mean, DJ Durkin is a really good play caller. He's an unorthodox play caller, and the offense isn't preparing for him. They're trying to just run their stuff, no matter what. And so it can be hard sometimes for the offense to move the football, and I think that's a really good point. I've heard nothing but the defense is throwing a lot out there and getting after him. So I think whatever comment you heard about Freeze and taking it easy, quote unquote, taking it easy on Jackson Arnold, that might have been the case in the spring, maybe to start fall camp. But for the most part, the last few weeks, I don't think that's been the case. I think the defense, especially when they've gone through these scrimmages, I think the defense has thrown a lot out there, and it's caused the offense to have some issues. But I think he'll be better for it.
Finally, when you look at what they have back defensively, obviously you look at a bunch of guys that are, quote, starting for the first time, but it hasn't been a huge concern for me. They are going against a great defense or a great offense in Baylor week 1. What position group will you be paying the closest attention to when they take on the Bears in Waco a couple weeks from now?
I look at the trenches. I mean, we can talk about the receiver room being better. That's great. We can talk about Auburn's cornerback room. I think that's pretty good. But the trenches, if you're going to make inroads in the SEC and you're going to become a better program, it's going to happen in the trenches. I think Baylor's offensive line is pretty good. And so I look at the interior defensive line of Auburn. I really like what I've heard from the edges: Amaris Williams, Kieron Crawford, Keldrick Falk. That interior defensive line, though, they've got a lot of bodies to rotate, but they don't have a stud. So I really want to see what that group looks like against a pretty good Baylor offensive line. And then the flip side, Auburn's offensive line. I mean, that group, if Auburn's going to reach potential, if Auburn's going to make strides, that group's got to hit their hit their mark. I mean, if we think that group is a top third group in the league, they gotta show it. And I think they've done a pretty good job in camp running the football. There've been some times in pass pro where Auburn's edges have gotten them. But that's where I'm looking. The interior defensive line, can those guys hold up and do a good job? And then is that offensive line everything they're cracked up to be, which we talk about being such a difference maker with that group. So that's where I'm looking. I mean, I think we all focus on the flashy stuff. That's great, but those two groups right there have to take big steps if Auburn's going to take big steps.
Justin Hokanson covers the Auburn Tiger for the On3 Sports Network. He's with us in the Higginbotham hotline. Let you go after this one. You kind of followed up with Hugh Freeze on the whole play calling situation last week. We laid it out like this. Our belief is that it's mainly a contractual thing with Derek Nix and what he had in his contract leaving Ole Miss, that he had to be the primary play caller or he could be fined or sued or whatever the hell it is. And we were accused of being negative here on the show, like folks asking me if I like Hugh Freeze because I'm negative about it. My problem is not with that, Justin, because I don't think that that's real, and I don't think any group of humans on an offensive football staff would allow that to take place. My problem is that you've allowed it to become public perception that way. Just clarify it for us, kind of where you think it is in reality and why you think it's gotten to where it is.
Yeah, I like your negative point. It's so true. I feel you on that. I think you're right. I mean, I think people forget when they hired Derek Nix, they had to make him offensive coordinator and he had to be play caller. He had to have a promotion to leave Ole Miss contractually. So I do think that's part of it. Every time you've heard Freeze talk about it, yes, he says I have authority to overrule, or we all play a part, but he's very intent on making sure that Nix is like portrayed as the guy. And I think that's caused some confusion because then you're like, but you're the play caller. I mean, let's not like mess it up. Hugh Freeze is the play caller. He called the majority of the plays last year. He's the main guy. So I think the way they've described it has just not always been super clear and kind of who's first down and who's third down, but we all kind of do it and all that stuff. So I think the way they described it has not been super clear. My stance on this, I really am not concerned about what happens on Saturdays. Like, the way they communicate and call plays on Saturdays is not an issue. That's not the issue at all for me. What the issue for me is, and we'll see how the offense operates, is Freeze is the primary play caller on Saturday, but during the week, he's not in every offensive meeting. He is being the head coach. He's doing a lot of stuff. And the issue for me is, because I know what happened last year, is when you're not in every offensive meeting and you're going to be the primary play caller on Saturday, you better hope that everything that's said and done during the week that you don't see or you're not a part of is being translated to you so that you don't miss anything. And I just wonder about stuff happening during the week that he's not involved in, offensive meetings, quarterback meetings that he wasn't a part of last year. Then he's the play call on Saturday, and I think that opens the door for stuff to fall through the cracks. I'm not saying that whole system can't work and be an efficient operation, but the communication's got to be phenomenal if you're going to be the primary play caller on Saturday, but not be a part of every single thing with the offense during the week. Like, that's my biggest issue. It's not even about who calls plays on Saturday because it's pretty much Freeze. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think the play calling itself, that whole thing was a little bit overblown. The way they've communicated it is not great. My biggest issue is just sort of how the communication happens from Monday to Saturday and making sure Saturday they're all on the same page and nothing's falling through the cracks so that the operation you watch is an efficient one.
Justin Hokanson, always appreciate the time. Great stuff, man. Thanks for filling us in and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Justin Hokanson covers the Auburn beat for the On3 Sports Network, joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Does that change your opinion on anything from an Auburn perspective?
Not really.
It's about in line with what we said last week, even though we were accused of being negative. We don't believe that somebody calls plays on first down, a different person second down, a different person third down.
No.
But you've allowed it to become that in the public, and that was where we had some issue and some concerns.
Correct.
And as you pointed out that I had not thought of, potentially what that maybe is setting up down the road to be able to state it after a game of, oh, well, if our second down play calling was better, maybe we win that game. Those are kind of things you don't want to see take place either.
Correct. That's, I think, the biggest problem is now with it being public, it opens you up to potentially greater scrutiny, which is not desirable because you can point to specific instances with how you've laid it out. Hey, first down's a problem. They're averaging 3.2 yards on first down. Well, that's got to be Derek Nix. Oh, well, they're averaging 31% on their third down efficiencies. Oh, well, we know who deserves the blame for that. Coach Austin. Like, I mean, it just, to me, I don't like having that information out there. I don't think it's good for anything. And I think it can become a little bit of a challenge, even though it just something that didn't need to happen is the big thing.
No, I'd be with you. All right. Something that may need to happen in your home is your floors are torn up. Your floors are gross. You can't have that smooth walk across your kitchen or your dining room floor. Greg, tell our listeners how they can get that repaired.
Well, Shinar Flooring can get you taken care of. They're the very best when it comes to coming in and installing and improving the quality of your floors and improving the value of your home or business or your office, whatever it may be. This CoreTech flooring by Shaw is dependable, durable, really incredible. And it's going to make sure that not only is the home beautiful, the floor is beautiful, but they're going to be really reliable as well. That's why Shinar Flooring is giving that CoreTech flooring by Shaw that they have currently in stock, 40,000 square feet of it. They're giving it to you at $10 off per box. That means you can really stack some savings if that's the direction that you would like to go. So recommend going to footandyou.com, checking out their inventory, looking at that CoreTech. You can save a bunch of money. You can get 12 months financing, and you're going to make money down the road because of the upgrade that you make on your floors today. So go to footandyou.com. It's Shinar Flooring. Go to footandyou.com.
All right, we'll come back and discuss a little bit more of what Justin Hokanson had to say and how that may have changed our opinions on this Auburn football team this fall. That's next right here on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, Three-Man Front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.